You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius, anxiety is one of the most common experiences of modern life. It creeps into your mornings, hijacks your thoughts, and convinces you that the worst is always just around the corner. But over 2,000 years ago, a group of philosophers in ancient Greece and Rome figured something out, something so clear, so practical, so devastatingly effective that it still works today. They were called the Stoics. And in this audiobook, you are going to learn exactly how they thought about fear, worry, and uncertainty, and how you can use their wisdom to quiet the noise in your mind, starting today. This is The Stoic Guide to Anxiety. Chapter 1. What the Stoics Understood About Fear. The ancient world was not a peaceful place. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during a time of plague, war, and political chaos. Epictetus was born into slavery. Seneca lived under the shadow of a tyrannical emperor who eventually ordered his death. These were not men who philosophized from comfortable armchairs. They developed their ideas in the middle of real suffering, real loss, and real uncertainty. And yet, across their writings, a single thread runs through everything they said about anxiety. Most of what we fear will never happen. And what does happen is we are more capable of handling than we think. This is not toxic positivity. It is not a command to pretend everything is fine. It is something far more honest. The Stoics observed that the human mind has a remarkable and often unhelpful habit. It confuses thinking about a threat with experiencing a threat. When you lie awake at night replaying a difficult conversation, your nervous system responds as if the danger is happening right now, in this moment. But it is not. The conversation is over. The future is not yet real. The only thing that is real is this breath, this moment, this choice about where to direct your attention. Epictetus put it simply, men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. Read that again slowly. You are not disturbed by events. You are disturbed by what you tell yourself about events. This is the foundation of Stoic thinking about anxiety. And it is the key that unlocks every lesson in this audiobook. Chapter 2. The Dichotomy of Control. Of all the ideas the Stoics gave us, this one may be the most powerful. Epictetus called it the most important distinction a person can make in life. Modern psychologists have rediscovered it under different names. Therapists use versions of it in cognitive behavioral therapy. And once you truly understand it, you will never think about anxiety the same way again. It is called the Dichotomy of Control. The idea is this: everything in life falls into one of two categories: things that are within your control, your thoughts, your judgments, your intentions, your responses, your effort, your character, and things that are outside your control, other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, your health, your reputation, the past, the future. Most anxiety lives in the second category. We worry about what people think of us. Outside our control, we worry about losing our job. Outside our control, we worry about whether our children will be safe. Outside our control, we worry about the news, the future, the state of the world, all outside our control. And so, we pour our mental energy into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Epictetus writes, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." This is not passivity. It is precision. It is redirecting your energy away from what you cannot influence and toward what you absolutely can. Here is a simple practice drawn directly from this principle. Whenever anxiety rises, ask yourself one question: is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act. Take a step. Make a decision. Do the thing you are avoiding. If the answer is no, breathe. Release. Return your attention to what you can actually influence right now. This single question, asked consistently, can dissolve the majority of everyday anxiety within weeks. Chapter 3. Negative Visualization. The Stoic Art of Imagining the Worst. This chapter may seem counterintuitive at first. Most modern advice about anxiety tells you to think positively. Visualize success. Focus on the good. Avoid dwelling on negative outcomes. The Stoics believed almost the exact opposite, and modern research is beginning to prove them right. The practice is called negative visualization, or in Latin, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The idea is to deliberately imagine losing the things you value most. Imagine losing your job. Imagine your relationship ending. Imagine your health declining. Imagine the people you love not being here, not obsessively, not as catastrophizing, but calmly, clearly, as a daily or weekly mental exercise. Why would this help with anxiety? For two reasons. First, when you imagine the worst-case scenario calmly and deliberately, it loses much of its power over you. The thing you fear most is no longer lurking in the dark. You have looked at it in daylight. You have sat with it, and you have survived the thought of it. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." Second, negative visualization is one of the most powerful antidotes to the anxiety of ingratitude. When you imagine losing your home, your next meal in your home becomes extraordinary. When you imagine losing your health, a single pain-free morning becomes a gift. Anxiety often feeds on the gap between what we have and what we think we need. Negative visualization closes that gap by reminding us, viscerally, emotionally, of what we already have that we are taking for granted. Practice this for 5 minutes tomorrow morning. Sit quietly. Think about one thing you could lose. Feel the absence of it. Then open your eyes and notice how different the room looks. Chapter 4. Living in the Present. The Stoic Answer to Worry. Anxiety lives in two places, the past and the future. It lives in the past as regret, replaying what went wrong, what you said, what you should have done differently. It lives in the future as dread, imagining what might go wrong, what could happen, what the worst outcome might be. It almost never lives in the present moment. And this is not a coincidence. The present moment, by its nature, is almost always manageable. Right now, as you listen to these words, you are breathing. You are safe enough to be here. Whatever problems exist in your life, they are not, in this precise second, attacking you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Confine yourself to the present." 3 words, possibly the most therapeutic instruction ever written. The Stoics did not invent mindfulness. That tradition has its own ancient roots in Eastern philosophy, but they arrived at the same truth from a different direction, that the untrained mind is a time-traveling machine that almost never stays where it is, and that this restlessness is the engine of most human suffering. Here is the Stoic practice for returning to the present. When you notice your mind drifting into worry or regret, ask yourself, what is actually required of me right now, in this moment? Not tomorrow, not in the worst-case scenario, not if everything goes wrong, right now. Usually the answer is something very small. Finish this task, have this conversation, take this step, make this meal. The present is almost always workable. It is the imagined future and the remembered past that overwhelm us. Chapter 5. The View from Above, Gaining Perspective on Your Problems. Marcus Aurelius had a practice he returned to again and again in his Meditations. He called it taking the view from above. When anxiety or distress gripped him, he would mentally zoom out, first to his room, then to his city, then to the empire, then to the earth, hanging in space, a blue dot surrounded by darkness, and then further still, to the vast stretch of time in which his entire life amounted to a single blink. This is not nihilism. Marcus was not saying that nothing matters. He was saying something far more useful, that the thing you are suffering over right now, the argument, the embarrassment, the setback, the fear, is almost certainly smaller than it feels, enormously, incomprehensibly smaller than the scale of existence in which it is occurring. He wrote, "How small a part of the boundless and unfathomable time is assigned to every man, for it is very soon swallowed up in the eternal." When anxiety makes a problem feel infinite and inescapable, zoom out. Look at it from the perspective of 1 year from now, 5 years, your entire lifetime, the history of the civilization you are part of. Does the problem change size? Almost always it does. This is not dismissing your pain. Your anxiety is real and it deserves real attention. But perspective is a kind of medicine, and the Stoics were its greatest practitioners. Chapter 6. Voluntary Discomfort, Training Yourself to Fear Less. Here is one of the most practical and surprising tools in the Stoic toolkit. The Stoics believed that the best way to reduce the fear of hardship is to voluntarily experience small doses of hardship on a regular basis. Seneca practiced this deliberately. He would spend several days each month living as if he had lost everything, eating plain food, wearing rough clothing, sleeping on a hard surface, not because he was forced to, but to prove to himself that the things he feared losing were survivable. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?' The modern application of this is simpler than it sounds. Take cold showers, fast for a day, walk somewhere instead of driving, say no to a comfort you usually rely on, sit with boredom without reaching for your phone. These are not punishments, they are training. Every time you voluntarily choose discomfort, you are sending a message to your nervous system. I can handle this. Discomfort is not danger. I am more capable than my fears suggest." Anxiety feeds on the belief that discomfort is unbearable. Voluntary hardship starves that belief slowly, over time, until the things that once filled you with dread begin to feel manageable, even trivial. Chapter 7. Amor Fati, Loving What Happens. We come now to perhaps the deepest and most challenging of all Stoic ideas. The Stoics taught something they called Amor Fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate, not tolerance of fate, not grudging acceptance of fate, love of it. The idea is this: everything that happens to you, every setback, every loss, every failure, every moment of pain, is part of the unfolding of your life, and your life, with all its difficulties, is what has shaped you into the person you are right now. The anxiety you are feeling today is not your enemy. It is information. It is a signal that something matters to you, that you are engaged with your life, that you are not numb to it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, and do so with all your heart." This is not a passive surrender to whatever happens. You still act. You still try. You still work toward the life you want. But underneath all that effort, there is a deep acceptance, a willingness to say, "Whatever comes, I will find a way to use it. I will not be destroyed by it. I will, if I can, learn to love even this." Anxiety often comes from resisting reality, from insisting that things should be different from how they are. Amor Fati dissolves that resistance. It does not make life easier. It makes you harder to break. Chapter 8. Building Your Daily Stoic Practice. Everything in this audiobook only works if it becomes a practice, something you return to daily, not just something you think about once. Here is a simple daily structure drawn from the Stoic tradition. In the morning, take 5 minutes. Before the day begins, sit quietly. Ask yourself, what challenges might I face today? What is within my control? What will I choose to focus my energy on? This is the Stoic morning reflection, a preparation, not a prediction. At midday, take just 1 minute. When anxiety rises during the day, pause. Ask, is this within my control? What is actually required of me right now? Return to the present. Take one clear action. In the evening, take 5 minutes. At the end of the day, review it. Ask yourself, where did I act from my values? Where did I let fear drive me? What would I do differently? Seneca called this the daily examination, and he practiced it every night without exception. This practice takes 11 minutes a day. That is all, but practiced consistently, over weeks and months, it rewires the way you relate to anxiety. Not by eliminating it, anxiety is part of being human, but by changing your relationship to it, by making you the observer of your fear rather than its prisoner. Closing reflection. The Stoics did not promise a life without difficulty. They promised something better, a life in which difficulty no longer had the power to destroy you. Marcus Aurelius faced plague and war. Epictetus faced slavery. Seneca faced exile and execution. And yet these men wrote with a clarity, a warmth, and a serenity that still reaches across 2,000 years to steady us today. Not because their lives were easy, because they had learned, through practice, through failure, through returning again and again to these ideas, that the mind, once trained, is the one thing that cannot be taken from you. You have that same mind, you have access to the same tools, and you can begin today. Not tomorrow, not when things are calmer, not when you feel ready. Today, stay with this. Return to it. Let it work on you slowly. The path forward is not the absence of anxiety. It is the presence of something stronger. Thank you for listening to the Stoic Guide to Anxiety. If this audiobook helped you, please subscribe to Journey Inspire. A new audiobook on ancient wisdom and modern life arrives every week. Leave a comment below with one idea from this audiobook that you are going to try today. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Until next time, stay with it.